Hello, I'm Chrissy.
And I'm Caroline, and we're interior designers. More and more people are asking us about what we do and how we do it.
Which brings us to our new design adventure, the Design Duet. Join us as we discuss the ins and outs and the ups and downs of interior design.
Today we're joined by one of Melbourne's most respected creative artisans, Mark Douglas. For over 30 years, Mark has built a remarkable career hand-blowing glass, crafting one-of-a-kind lighting pieces that have found homes in luxury hotels, private residence and high-end apartment projects. What started as a love of sculpture and painting led Mark into the world of glass, a medium that requires both precision and creativity. Over the years, he's not only mastered his craft, but he has also expanded his business, collaborating closely with architects, designers, property developers and influencers to create lighting, furniture and art that brings spaces to life.
Mark is deeply connected to Melbourne's creative community and has witnessed firsthand how the design industry has evolved, from small custom studios to large-scale developments and the increasing appetite for bespoke pieces that add warmth, individuality and a story to our interiors. In this conversation, we're going to take you behind the scenes of what it's like to build a creative business, what goes into making those beautiful handcrafted lights you see in designer homes and luxury hotels, and how Mark continues to evolve in an industry that blends art, design and business. Let's dive in, Caroline.
Hi Mark, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming.
Now tell us a little bit about yourself and where did your design career begin and how did you get started?
Well, it sort of started at high school in two levels. One was I was doing a jewellery course or introduction to jewellery with a bit of a mentor, teacher who we started designing jewellery. And then I fell into ceramics with another teacher who became a bit of a mentor as well with ceramics. And the both of them had a little entrepreneurial sort of angle to it. Like when you make things, you got to, you can keep them, give them away or sell them. And I really like that idea of creating something and giving it or selling it or having that sort of, passing on of the object to the next custodian.
It's very nice.
Yeah,
I like that too. You've just done a recent exhibition, My Art Family. Can you tell us about how reconnecting with friends inspired this body of work?
Well, they're all portraits of people. I never really intended to start doing portraits. I've always done little sketches and caricatures of people, but I've never really sat down and created a portrait of anyone. And I somehow fell into it to decide to reach out to people of the past who have either supported me, gifted or bought some of my work over the last 30 years and sort of contacted them in one way or another, whether it was just finding an image of them over the internet or calling out to them and getting an image of what that particular time we spent together was in the past. Or some people were shy. Other people, bombarded me with a lot of different images of different poses in different ways, which was interesting. And being selective there, I think we ended up with about 52 or 3 portraits of people. Some people got upset they weren't included. Other people got upset they were included. I don't really know. But
you saw people's true colours.
Yeah, it wasn't about them in a way, but it ended up very confronting having a portrait done of you, I think. And I realised that a lot of these people had big egos and to pull it off I got a bit nervous and because this in a portrait – there's lots of different things going on. There's the eyes, there's this description in the mouth, and people look angry very easily. They can look upset, they can look fat, they can look skinny. So you've got to be very mindful when you're doing a portrait of someone to make them look as good as possible in their eyes as much as they see themselves in the mirror, which sometimes people don't even look in the mirror because they don't like what they see. But a lot of them I brought them back in time to, maybe 15 years previous to where I met them or whatever. And so it was a very interesting journey and they're all airbrush drawings. So you don't have a lot of time to muck around with it. And I spoke to a friend of mine, David, and he said, you put yourself on a lot of pressure here to try and do this. It was quite confronting, but when you set a deadline and you sort of start going down that rabbit burrow, it's really hard to stop and go, well, maybe I'll shelve that and start something else. So anyway, we followed it all through. And it was a very good practice to learn how to paint people, how to, get the sparkle in their eye, how to manipulate the mouth so it doesn't look, the teeth were very difficult, I found. Yeah, see, I had a couple of friends come and say who was a Portugal. I said, just don't paint teeth, it's too hard. But,
What's so difficult about them?
Well, have a go at it. Try and paint some teeth. It's actually quite tricky because you can make it look very white. You can make them, they're sort of buried in your face a little bit. But you can make them crooked. You can, anyway, have a go and you'll understand what I'm talking about.
I'll
It's
get
sort of
back
one of
to
the
you
things
on
hard to describe.
Because you've always been very hands-on in art, Mark. So what keeps you so closely connected to making process even after all these years?
Well, I think I'm a little bit ADD in this way. I think from the brain to the hand is a very interesting, path. And I think it becomes, takes you away from actual reality in some ways when you are physically doing a process, whether it's, forming a pot on a wheel or rolling some glass on a marble or picking up a paintbrush and actually, painting and mixing paint and then actually applying it to a canvas or whatever it might be. And I think that it's a little meditative process in a way where, your brain connects directly to the journey or the outcome of what process you're involved with. And I think that's pretty much it. You can't get too complicated about it. I think what's interesting about the design process from the brain to the hand to the object or whatever is it's a journey of trust, and it is sort of an innate thing sometimes, sometimes hard to describe. And there's always that thing of, how long did it take you to make? Everyone asks that question. It's like, well, it's not about that. It's about how long did it, did you learn to trust yourself to be able to do something, or how long did it take you to train yourself up to be able to do that process is more important. And, a lot of people say with glass, especially 30 years, 20 years, 10 years to be able to learn, it might take you half an hour to an hour, but without that background skill, you're probably not being able to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because was one of your biggest journeys in your life the making of your glass, the glass blowing of your?
Probably is. I think. Why I got into glass, because ceramics was a very slow process. From the initial making it was fine. You had to let it dry out. Then you had to sit on the shelf, biscuit fire it. Could be a problem with that process. Select a glaze. So you lost that touch through maybe a week, or I'm not sure, sometimes longer. Where glass, the colour palette is a lot more wider, more transparent, opacity, transparency, different opaques, different transparents, bubbles, crackle, there's all these different extra effects. Some of them obviously are around in ceramics, but the process was a lot quicker in the sense of you actually make something within a couple of hours or an hour.
Right.
And, obviously then you have to cool it down overnight and they have to grind it and polish it and all that other processes as well. But it was a lot more immediate and that's what sort of attracted me to it rather than any other process.
Yeah.
You've recently shifted your model, sharing studio spaces and furnaces with others. Can you share how this works and what led you to make this change?
Well, I think every 10 years or so, might be, inevitably something shifts, whether in your life, your age, your this, your that. And I've recently turned, was looking down the barrel of 60 and now that's past, but, I sort of had to reevaluate a couple of things. It's like, after the last 10 years, I've been doing a similar model. I was doing everything from sweeping the floors to loading the furnaces to doing this, doing that. And I thought, I just don't know whether I want to do this for another 10 years, and I need to look forward and you go, well, may I have 20, 30 years left, I might have 10, who knows, but do I want to be sitting in the same spot in 10 years' time? So if I didn't make a shift then, when would I do it? With another 5 years when I'm, so I thought, well, there are a few things. Even the pandemic made people shift in a different way. I think with the gas crisis, with the cost, my gas bill was just through the roof. And I started to go, well, do I need to keep feeding this machine on a weekly basis? And then you start to get a little bit more focused on, how much you're making each week to sell. And like on the treadmill of a business can be, daunting and very annoying in a lot of ways. So I thought, well, maybe it's worth evaluating changing the model. And so I basically ended up shutting everything down, getting rid of all, I had 30 years of collecting machines and furnaces and this and that and spare parts. And then, you'd make a chandelier, you have a couple of spares, but it'll build up in this big warehouse and it just become overwhelming in a way. And I thought, I just don't need this in my life anymore.
No.
So basically it took me about 9 months to get rid of everything.
Wow.
And I did keep all the best bits, and I've kept that in storage, and I've sort of set up another studio with someone else up in Queensland with some of the good equipment. But it was a real cleansing thing to do and take a bit of time off and reevaluate what you're doing. Other people, I'm not the only one in part of that journey. I know other people have gone through that as well. And when you talk to them, you know, you can be so busy in a lane, and often when you can stop and look around you, things start to fall in your lap rather than actually, you know, having blinkers on.
Mm-hmm. True.
So I sort of kept my options open and ended up falling into a design, you know, like artistic director role for a service station group. Also I fell back on my painting, which I'd always wanted to do but never had a chance to do it. I reevaluated the glass thing with my son, and we will collaborate with him now. And so everything's sort of, from running everything by myself as a sole person, now I sort of collaborate more, you know, in my next journey. Next
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Because you've done so many incredible things and you've got so much incredible work in front of you. One collaboration we'd love to hear about, if you're willing to share, is with Mim Design. And I know you've done some work with her previously.
Yeah, well, I haven't really this is an ongoing thing. Like, collaboration's a journey, and I've actually got a meeting with her tomorrow, so I can sort of say a certain amount. I just don't know where it might go. Like, you know, it might end tomorrow and might continue on. But we've been working with each other for, when Mim was first designing back, this is like in the late, you know,
20 years
30
ago.
years. Like
30, right.
We were sort of working together when she was working for a big company there, and obviously now she's gone, you know, gangbusters out on her own and been doing that for a long time. But some of the vases I've had with her, she's sort of, you know, on her website, and then I did arrange for her for a centerpiece table of a whole group of things. And, you know, you sort of end up reaching out and she answers, and then we sort of go, well, let's do something about it rather than talking about it. Then you might set up a little WhatsApp group, and then, you know, that might, you know, inspire you, and then your next step is to do the next thing. So you don't really know where it might lead, but she's, you know, doors open, and meeting her tomorrow, and then part of that journey might include, you know, a range of stuff with her, with some input, with my input, and something with a flavour that is a bit different that I might normally do, something that she might normally do either.
Watch this space.
Yeah.
Sounds exciting. Would it be furniture or lighting or both?
Oh, it's going to be glass. I was pushing her in a different direction, but she sort of wanted to focus on the decorative glass. I have done a couple of chandeliers with her. We're just doing another one in this week actually for a client, but that design will probably follow through with for a chandelier design, but mainly a glass object on a centerpiece of a table for which was pretty much been inspired by what we've done in the past with her. Different colour palette, different shapes, but all like rather than having one thing, it'd be a group of 8 or 10 or something, or 12
Beautiful.
or something. Yeah.
Sounds stunning. Tell us about your involvement in the apartment packages, and can you customise these packages for buyers?
Well, yeah, this is another one that sort of fell in my lap through having your radar open through a woman called Marianne, who I've worked on a couple of projects with, was introduced by a guy called Bruce Armstrong, a sculptor, and she did the design work for the Hyatt in Collins Street where the Big Eagles are.
Yeah.
And so I met her through him, but we also did different projects with the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, the Capella Sandstone in Sydney Hotel, we did one in Hong Kong together, one in Japan together. So probably about 5 hotels that we've worked on a similar project. And then one of her other, you know, suppliers she collaborates with. So we're all joined together and actually working on projects of furniture. It's called FF&E, or, you know, like linen, leather, cushions, like all that sort of soft furnishing and furniture realm, which sits outside my design for feature lighting. We also collaborate with a company called Studio All that does architectural lighting. So as a group of 3, we sit together not stepping on each other's toes, but collaboratively putting, ideas together for, whether it's a hotel, but this thing in particular, which is I'm more involved with them, is it's called Catalogue, which is a catalogue of furniture and things for interior designers to be able to select different leathers for the furniture and different colours and pretty much order one off if they want on that level.
And how do you think this digital platform will change the way that people will work with you and us working with your catalogues, your digital catalogues?
Well, it's sort of one of those things where, you have a palette of colours, 200 leathers, but, if you have a drop down, you got, I want silver leather, I like this table, a chair frame, I want it in a deep charcoal rather than, light. There will be a certain amount of limitations, but when you get different SKUs for wood colour, then you've got all the different leathers, or you could have fabrics, or you could have this, or you could have embroidery on, or you could have this, because all these technologies now of, digitally, laser cutting, etching into leather, embroidery onto leather, it's pretty customised.
Yeah, it's all customised.
Yeah, and you can actually scan in, or, if you're digitally drawn it all up, that goes straight into the computer where we can, it's not like a big labour-intensive thing, but the big labour-intensive thing is actually upholstery, which, that can't be automated.
Of course.
Sanding it and making sure that the finish is smooth can't be automated. Packing it, shipping it can't be automated. So out of that process, there is a lot of, customisation done through digital procedures, but there is also, a lot of handmade sort of artisan stuff along.
And the fantastic thing about that is that you can see it. It's a drawing that is actually put to you to put to your client, and then it's done. And so then the process often with that is so much quicker.
Yeah, and then sometimes, people might want a full, Italian leather. There might be a substitute which is, more of not a leather, but, it will be pretty transparent. It's not going to last as long as leather, but then my budget might not suit an Italian leather. Now, there are parameters there. Like, then you go to a different fabric and, you can go all the way down to a fabric which is probably, the most cost effective, but you basically could get what you pay for. If you want leather, you can't have every cake and eat it too. So
absolutely
having that sort of flexibility with the client to be able to work within a budget to get a, 5-star quality product is a good thing, So, we're sitting ideally a quality of, polyform or a bit below that, but we're not fantastic furniture, like we want, to be sitting a little bit higher up the hierarchy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
So do you think it's fair to say that working in all these shared studios have brought you new opportunities and more creative benefits?
I think definitely. I think what I've found my falling into this next part or realm is actually I do have a lot of contacts out there which you build up over the time period. And I've really underestimated that I can pick up the phone and actually speak to people that I've done work with over the years when, whether it's, Bates Smart or, Woodmarsh or whatever. I have worked with those guys before and, that contact is a very important thing. And, a lot of, younger people have to build up that thing over time. You can't just get that through AI or, going to university. You have to,
you've got years and years of having lived it and doing it.
And I think in the design world, people with experience have that skill set of experience. And even Marianne explains it a little bit more, in the hotel. She understands all the potholes or the pitfalls and to fall into, and to avoid them is part of a design set as much as anything else to, understand, and a lot of, I'm probably getting a little bit off here, but she'll explains a lot of what, like a hotel project might take 4 years to do, and someone will be working in a business or in a firm, they'll leave and they'll left a folder missing, and they don't know what that is. And all of a sudden someone decides it's pink and it's actually not supposed to be pink. It gets lost, and they call the little depth charges in the project arise with a pink. Where'd the pink? Well, but Janine left it in 2022. What?
What happened to the file?
Depth charges in design.
Right.
Architects find it all the time.
Yeah, I
Right.
can imagine.
Yeah.
Because you've been in the industry of design and art for so many years now.
Oh, thank you. I'm not going to rub it in.
Oh, okay, right. Well, I could say the same about myself. How do you see the role of collaboration evolving in both your art world and your design world? I mean, you've pretty much, answered a lot of this because you've evolved, as you said, over your period of time from, when you began doing your jewellery to your ceramics, your lighting, and now doing, major furniture buying and installations for unbelievable, projects, hotels, etc.,
apartments.
and then collaborating with many a talented person to your art. So it just keeps going.
Well, I think, there's a lot to that, but I think you sort of stick, if you can try and stick to your lane and work with people that are good outside your lane, that's the trick of the collaboration. Like, what's the point of me collaborating probably with another glass artist that does, like similar mindset that I do? It's probably not as much point compared if I collaborate with someone who hasn't got my skill set as a glass maker or whoever, and I don't have their skill set like we have with, Lisa, Marianne and myself. We have all our different lanes, or everyone I select as a collaborator. That's a very important role or parameter that you want to stick to, because with the service station project, we all have our different lanes, and I don't want to be the operator of the service station, but I can do the design with my other, and then they can't do the design, but they can run it. And, the money person is the money person, and that's what they do. And, everyone has their own little role.
Yes.
Where when you don't collaborate, you have to put all those hats on yourself. And, it's very difficult these days. Well, I can do it, but if you're doing the bookkeeping and getting the money in and you're not designing and you're not creating, well, you can't split yourself, in a million different pieces.
Yeah, and you don't want to be doing that.
No, boring.
No, I don't want to be.
That's not the fun part of it, is it?
No.
So sticking to your lane is, I think, a very important thing to consider in any collaboration, and why my even going into business with someone, which it is collaboration, what is our plan from this? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? And I think the exit strategy is very important to have conversation straight away as well. Is there a time, where's the start and where's the finish? Because it can't continue on forever. Like, I don't want to be, I'm not married to you, or, whatever. It's not.
Well, I hope not.
Well, but,
well, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Some partnerships might last, but, it's a journey, step 1, 2, 3. But if you don't talk about that early, it'll end up somewhere probably you don't want to end up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. So for young designers or artists listening, what advice would you give about navigating both the creative and business sides of this industry?
Yeah. Well, I think the catchphrase today is AI and what is, and everyone's spending a lot of, their radars out there. We've set up a couple of WhatsApp groups with very, talented people who are looking at AI and how it works. And there was one guy in particular, Paul, who's a global designer for Nando's, and just he had a massive team and changing all around. And his whole design process is very interesting. And I'll echo a little bit of when you do it innately, but when you hear it from someone else who's very good at what they do, it sort of makes you realise, well, I'm on the right track, or I should stick to my guns or whatever. And what he said is, it all starts with the idea. Step 1, and you get the idea, that's the most important thing. People sort of, jump the gun and, just forget the idea, let's just make it.
Yeah.
Then what he does is creates a list of words surrounding that idea. So words, just words. And then those words create a prompt in your brain to create more of a reality, because an idea is in your head, word is a written thing. Then you start this journey. A lot of people could just jump straight into Pinterest with an idea. I think, oh, wow, that's a good idea. It's not your idea. It's someone else's idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're using that as a starting point. They're skipping step 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And a lot of young designers just jump straight into Pinterest or straight onto a platform of designing in, 3D Max or, whatever they do as a designing stuff. But they've missed the idea, the words, the sketches, and, to be able to just freely draw and learn that hand-drawn skill on a bit of paper rather than a computer is a very important thing. To actually grab a bit of clay and model it up into a little chair or grab some toothpicks and tape. You're thinking about how things connect and what might fall apart. And that sort of analog design, step-by-step initial processes skipped a lot of times in, people, I don't know if they teach it that much in university anymore. I'm not sure, When in university we still go there and do stuff. Now it's very
digital.
It is.
They are still doing a lot of hand-drawn and models, which is great.
Good. Well, that's very good to hear.
Yeah.
But a lot of the programs, what they've done now, especially the glass, for example, at Monash University, they've split the glass department in different facets. So everyone gets a little touch on it, but no one gets to really dive deep into it.
Yeah, right.
So it's I'm not bagging out any universities at all, but, they're expensive programs to run. And so if they split the budget between 5 faculties, it adds up and, Monash has offered a glass opportunity. Well, it's true, but, you get there for half an hour a week. It's not what,
we're going to lose our artisans.
So it's sort of, I think it's just, I don't know how far it's going to go down in the future without skipping step 1, 2 and 3, but I'd be turning my attention to step 1, 2 and 3. All that's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
No, that's only going to get easier for you to do all that,
yes.
CAD and this and that and da-da-da-da-da and, reach up. But if you skip the idea and, that hands-on analog stuff to start with, I think you're going to miss out more than that, if you bury yourself in the latest technology right now, because that's going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true.
So true.
So I often do a myth at the end of an interview, and this relates obviously to your glass blowing. This is the myth: handcrafted lighting is too fragile and impractical for real homes. What do you think about that?
Well, glass, it all depends on, if you blow a sphere, it's very strong. And I've had my son Hunter up, he used to go around with a bow and arrow with a sucker on it.
Yeah.
And shoot my vases
Oh.
around. He never broke anything.
Yeah, right.
Really?
I've had stuff bounce off the floor and this and that. Sometimes things break. But if you look at a form, a vase, or a light, it all depends on the shape, obviously. But if you've got a little frond hanging off very fine, that can snap off a bit easier if you flick it, or just something taps against it. But different shapes that have their own, integrity and strength, which is interesting. So it all depends on what shape you've got. But you've got to respect things as well. Like, if you're playing footy in a hallway with some glass lights, more than likely something might
your
happen.
sons would have
My
been.
sons would have done, yeah.
Well, you can even those paper shades, you get the round.
Yeah.
Well, they're great targets, and they're cheap to replace, So, I think you got to think about that. The stained glass end of the hallway worth considering, maybe. If you're kicking a goal down the hallway or playing cricket.
Correct.
It's fun though.
Yeah, the hallways are good when it's winter.
Exactly.
Well, where else are you supposed to play?
Absolutely. Oh, no, that's a great answer. I love it. Well, I've worked with you for over 25 years now. I've known you.
Stop it.
I know.
Don't show your age
We're
now.
both showing our age. No, but I've always found what you've done and what you do really interesting and intriguing.
And beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. And I've got to put several of your pieces in several of our jobs, which has been awesome. And one being probably a couple of years ago at a property we did in Malvern East.
Yes,
Glen Iris. A beautiful, magnificent chandelier, which she absolutely loves and adores. And that whole process was fantastic. And
thank you. I know there was a few hiccups. I apologise. But I think it's also to navigate. There's always, with anything, there's always going to have issues. But I think if you can navigate them and get through it, and someone sort of, who's an interior designer, pointed this out a little bit. I don't know if I'm going too far down a rabbit burrow on this one at all. But, there's with a building project, from the design to the builder, the client, it's a journey, and there's going to be issues. And how you navigate those issues in a calm, nice and, way where the client is sort of as happy any direction it goes, rather than throwing the builder on the bus in front of the client and then, you didn't order the tiles on time. It's a total nightmare. Like, the client doesn't want to hear that shit. I just want to, okay, we're running late, or maybe it's not, but this is a good option.
Yeah.
We all think it's a great option. And what do you think? They go, well, probably they say yes, but, oh, no, we can't get that one. We've got this crappy one instead. It's like, it's the wrong mentality.
No, absolutely.
And I think some things, they explain in a beautiful way, like AI's like a tree growing with, limbs. All you can do is clip the edges of it. The creative process, you can't change actually how it works. But a build is going to have its own natural course, who knows if COVID's going to hit, that you could hit bust a pipe and the whole thing. I don't know. It's something's probably going to happen, and how you navigate, that's very important. I think, keep everyone's brain, happy and, a good outcome with the quality, finishes, and actually enjoy the experience is sort of part, because it's actually is like it on a build is a stressful thing. It's probably go over budget more than likely. Not many go under budget, but
do any?
well, things happen.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
So I think that journey is a very important thing to keep everyone happy for their mental health and for the outcome.
Yeah, well said.
Well, thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you so much, Mark. Just great to get into your head and hear a bit more of what you're doing and what you've done and going forward. Can't wait to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, we're excited to see what you do next.
Yeah, I'd like to say what you ladies are up, girls are up to.
Yeah, thank you very much.
On that note, we'll say goodbye. Thanks again, Mark.
See you, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to get in touch, email us on thedesignduet@gmail.com or DM us on our Instagram page, The Design Duet.